Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 8th episode of the story, and a chance meeting leads Naruto Uzumaki to learn Genjutsu. Sure, he lacks talent, but once Naruto sets his mind to something, he will never give up until he completes it, and Naruto will not stop until he is a master of Genjutsu. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Now let's begin. With a breathtaking moment, Naruto gathered most of his remaining chakra at one go and pulled on the nine-tailed fox's own chakra reserves, merging them with that of the tailed beast. Naruto's red chakra swirled around him as a result of the vast amount of chakra he expended, with wind whipping around and funneling outwards. The nine-tails smiled and commented, "It seems like I'll be able to enjoy myself once more." Naruto hoped that his plan would be successful. He had a tendency to lose confidence during the exams due to his belief that he could take Shino without any issues. His stupefied victory had sparked his curiosity, as it highlighted the fact that there was still a long way to go before he could become the greatest ninja on the planet. He used the chakra he had collected to unleash his hands, flashing through a sequence of hand seals, unlocking the technique that made him so well known. During the fight for supremacy, the ninjas in the arena briefly stopped as the arena vortex moved closer to Naruto, creating an intricate pattern of blades throughout the region. The unique weapons were retrieved from the ground by Naruto's clones one at a time. They were accustomed to the weapons they held and quickly fled into the village to assist in the defense. The sound of kunai fighting against other animals was heard after the initial shock faded, and the fight in the arena continued to unfold. Naruto collapsed to one knee, panting intensely due to the exhaustion of his remaining chakra supply. "What strategy did you employ?" Yujito questioned. With his hands on the ground, Naruto breathed deeply and fought to keep his cool. He turned his head to face his partner after he did it. "The battlefield of blades, my exclusive Genjutsu weapon, is a true artillery style that I use." A group of Naruto's clones, including one with blood-red eyes and sharp claws, stood before them. Naruto was left perplexed and the red-eyed clone suddenly advanced, leading him to look at him in confusion. The clone with red eyes smiled and asked, "What are you doing now?" "I'm just getting used to this body." The clone's menacing inflection caused Naruto to experience a chill that ran down his spine. "It's been a long time coming to my life, and even if I have to use your pitiful body, I'll be relishing the experience." A clone of the nine-tails ran away, with a red chakra covering its surroundings and hidden behind it. Yujito's gaze fixed on Naruto as he blinkered and looked down at him. "You mentioned using a Genjutsu?" Naruto nodded in response, which was more challenging than his usual reaction. Genjutsu was not the sole focus of your training, as it was too authentic to be a martial art. Naruto observed as Naruto looked at the Kage box that its inhabitants were trapped within a wall of unnatural purple flames. Despite his chakra supplies being spent, he couldn't be of any assistance to them. He sat down and let his breathing even out, hoping to heal his chakra so that he could assist others. "I would have thought it was a mere trick, but I received some encouragement from the nine-tails," he stated. He recalled with a smile the first time he connected his chakra to the nine-tails to create physical illusions. He was taken aback upon discovering it. Yujito appeared to have accepted his explanation, seemingly content with his position. It was strange that no one had considered attacking him, his clones or Yujito. They either didn't consider them a threat, were afraid of attacking Yujito, or they saw someone coming from the distance to assist them. Naruto stood up as soon as his energy began to lift. He was still unable to make significant moves, but he did have the ability to protect himself. It is anticipated that the illusion he created with the nine-tails chakra, who had the same limitations as his usual clones, could make a difference in his absence. 10 of Naruto's clones had split up, with one group traveling northward and the other group moving northwest, until the last group finally reached northeast. A group ran towards the main gate, jumping from one rooftop to another to assist the village's initial defenders until the next wave of ninjas arrived and started their attack. A frightening scream caused the two clones to come to a stop on their way there. As they drew nearer to the source of the noise, they came across a group of civilians trapped in an alleyway, pulling back from 3 shinobi from the hidden sound. One of the clones leapt towards the civilians and held its weapon in a defensive position, indicating that it had not yet developed the proper handling technique. "Leave us alone, kid," exclaimed one of the shinobi. The clone stood firm. Unusual jerk. The ninja had just taken out a kunai, and before he could kill Naruto's clone, the pair were beheaded with spitting blood from their necks. Despite the fearful expressions, one of the clones kept its cool and avoided the civilian population. "We don't have to spend all day long. Me and my partners will ensure your safe passage." Fortunately, the civilians yielded, looking relieved after being saved by Naruto's group of clones. At the same time, a group of clones made their way to the main gate and witnessed stalemate. Hidden Leaf Ninja and Sound and Hidden Sand were attempting to breach the earthen walls. The 10th Nagasaki episode was approaching one of the ninjas, while 9 Naruto's clones stood guard on the rooftops. The ninja communicated to the clone that Jin should be aiding in the evacuation of civilians. "It's important to follow the correct protocol." A clone of Naruto appeared to be only smiling. "My partners are clones to distract the enemy. Tell us how it happened." The ninja was about to take off Naruto's clone when an explosion caused the walls that were supposed to protect them to be rocked. Despite the enemy's ongoing assault, the ninja looked at the group of clones and held off. Naruto's clone nodded and relayed the instruction to his associates, who immediately ran across the rooftops and launched their weapons at the enemy while we attacked from below. After the explosion subsided, the Hidden Leaf Ninja unleashed their most potent attacks and released the walls of the earth while being supported by Naruto's clones from above, with new weapons becoming available to them upon impact. The Leaf Ninja's inability to effectively attack the rooftop clones resulted in the 50 Sound and Sand Ninkies to become 40. By taking advantage of their distraction, the clones stormed down the street and launched an attack on the enemy troops. Although 8 clones were dispersed, their targets didn't escape the fire and suffered severe injuries on their arms and legs. An arm was lost by one of the enemy shinobi. 2 more clones utilized Genjutsu to prevent the 32 remaining battle-ready ninja from winning the fight, while the Hidden Leaf aided them in fortifying their defenses and exploiting the opening they were given. During the same time, another group of clones followed an enormous 3-headed snake as it ran through an abandoned area. Despite being attacked by a small group of Hidden Leaf Ninjas, the snake persisted in its journey. A clone of Naruto observed the snake and came up with an incredible idea. The chakra would be completely consumed by it, but the priority was to eliminate the snake. Upon hearing the announcement, his clones immediately shook their heads in delight and summoned Gamahiro. Naruto's clone must summon the toad that is as big as Gamahiro, either by being far away from the enemy or directly on top of it, in order to avoid any fatalities. The clone was quickly eliminated after the summoning of the battle toad, who was aquamarine in color, had 2 katanas on his back and wore an orange sash around his waist. Gamahiro was captivated by Naruto's fallen partner being replaced by one of his clones. "Ah, Naruto," exclaimed the battle-worn savage who caught sight of him. "What can I do to assist you?" The snake's 3-headed head trembled and caused damage and destruction to buildings. "You're asking for my assistance in getting rid of that snake, do you?" The clone nodded off. Jiraiya had disclosed to Naruto that Gamahiro favored fighting snakes as his primary weapon. "Gamasio," exclaimed, squeezing his legs in agreement. "Very well," Gamahiro replied. "Perform, Naruto, sway. I'll finish this with a jump." While Gamahiro was battling the 3-headed snake, the Ninetales had just killed a group of Hidden Sound ninja who were targeting civilians in the nearby forest. The tailed beast's borrowed body was stained red with blood from the blackened, deep wounds that had penetrated the ground. "Satisfactory," the Ninetales declared. One tail whirled around it. Only one tail of the Ninetales chakra could be used, which meant that it had a lower chance of being destroyed. Its efforts to make progress were successful, but it was aware that it needed time to realize its plans. Naruto's senses were utilized by the Nine Tails to detect the chakra of an ANBU squad nearing its general area. It seems like my time is coming to an end, but the boy's decision won't be immediately apparent until he lets me go again. It smirked once more. It's only a matter of time before I become permanently ousted from my husband. Naruto stumbled upon his foot on the stands, holding his hand over his forehead and feeling pain from the memory of his shadow clones. Naruto was aided by his friend Yujito, who kept him alert. "Naruto, is everything okay?" Nodded off. Yujito had been present with him since he sent his clones to safeguard the village. An enemy group was apprehended by one of my clones before they could reach the academy, which is located just outside our village. All of my clones were destroyed in one go. "It's a good thing," she said. It was beyond Naruto's capabilities to ask for information on the attire worn by his clones. ANBU squads were able to drive the enemy away from the village after they managed to divert their attention for an extended period. Finally, Naruto and Yujito came across Kakashi, Kurenai, and Guy, who was watching sagaciously. He gazed at Naruto and gleefully smiled. "Naruto, thank you for your fight and best wishes for defending Tenten's honor." Naruto restored Guy's smile with a bright one of his own. "Thanks, Guy-sensei." Despite having his hands in his pockets, Kakashi's muscles were stiff. "Good luck with your fights, Naruto. I'm ecstatic that you've reached such great success." Naruto retorted and responded with his own words. After meeting Kurenai, Kakashi had indirectly introduced him to Jiraiya and, with one exception, he had extended support. Despite Sasuke's near-death penalty, Kakashi had still caused him to feel unsupported by his fellow trainees. Naruto expressed his gratitude to Kakashi-sensei, smiling and expressing his appreciation towards the copy ninja. Kakashi's body became more tense. While his clones were fighting, Sakura picked up Sasuke and took him to the hospital, but not before congratulating him. Genma had left to engage in his own battles, and Kankura had regained Gaara. Given that Shikaku was sleeping and Gaara had surrendered, Naruto didn't have a compelling case to keep them under his control. Yujito suggested that Guy assume the role of Lee and Neji-sensei, but his lively demeanor disappeared instantly. "You did a good job in training them." The compliment from Yujito had caused Guy's dark eyebrow to lighten his mood. "I'm afraid Neji won't be able to heal from the injuries you caused him." Yujito's expression was awkward, and she was about to protest when Guy interrupted her. "I understand the possibility of these things occurring, but I believe a kunoichi of your kind could have rendered sex useless without resorting to such brutal tactics." "You're correct," as Yujito stated, and he agreed. "I intended to educate Neji on fate, but I lost my composure. It was a conscious decision to kill him, but I didn't want to harm him. I believe that being allies and eliminating a shinobi like Neji won't be advantageous for us as our future allegiances are lost to the loss of 10 promising genin." She screamed, breathing deeply through her nose. "I made a mistake." He should have avoided burning his hands or causing them to shatter. The group of ninjas were enveloped in silence like a fog, lasting for an uncomfortably long time. "Neji's only hope is for him to recover quickly and enjoy the spring season," Guy later stated. "Yeah." The Kage box's perimeter began to solidify. 4 shinobi fled at maximum speed, carrying a badly wounded ninja. It appears that the conflict has come to a close. Naruto was smiled at by her when she turned around. "It was a pleasure working alongside you, thank you very much." Naruto nodded and smiled widely after acknowledging his comment about "you know what, don't forget what I said. I promise to do it." After hearing the statement, Yujito turned around and departed, reappearing on the Kage box. After the barrier was removed and the Hokage emerged in his black battle uniform, looking tired but relatively unscathed, a copious amount of trees had appeared. Guy, Kakashi proceeded to answer. I was pondering over a new challenge, as you're now 2 points ahead of me. Guy's customary twinkle in his face was once more noticeable. Kakashi, I'm surprised you never put up a fight with me. Why did you abruptly change your mind? Kakashi muttered, watching Naruto and Kurenai closely. There is no justification for anything. After they left, Kurenai's lips widened to reveal a solemn smile, causing Naruto's heart to race. Kurenai, what was your experience? He inquired. I'm not sure what to say, I thought you were all right, she replied. Naruto was left in complete disbelief by the statement and almost reacted with shock. He scowled, dissatisfied. Kurenai appeared to take notice, as she also frowned. In just 2 cases. Shino was the opponent of the first one. You were fortunate that he effectively countered your censor and prevented you from discovering him. Were you able to communicate it with him? Naruto inquired. Kurenai shook her head in agreement. It's evident that he researched you and came up with the jamming technique. You attempted to use your Genjutsu on Gaara for the second time. Once again, it was a stroke of luck as you weren't expecting it to be successful. Whenever Kurenai was proud of him, she always smiled and said, nothing but you exceptional. The disappointment dissipated like a tsunami and Naruto was pleased with his teacher and girlfriend's pride in him. She said, all right, I heard you. Naruto's expression was one of happiness, as he smiled. The hidden Cloud Ninja in the arena were not attacked by the enemy, as observed by him, and no one considered attacking Yujito, even when the rest of the crowd fought with impunity. It made him question the existence of his enigmatic guardian. Is it possible that you were looking after me when I stood in the arena? Kurenai nodded, her eyes wide open, and smiled softly. I was unquestionably one of them. Excellent. Until Naruto found another topic to discuss, they were kept in a comfortable silence. After surviving an invasion, Kurenai leaned forward, resting her forearms on Naruto's shoulders and touching her forehead to his. We can relax and rebuild our village, which will be a better place than before. The Hidden Leaf Village was relatively unscathed after the 2-day invasion, except for the area that was destroyed during the battle between Gamahiro and the three-headed snake. The Hidden Leaf's ninja had done everything to prevent the opposing Kung-Fi Ki from the Hidden Sound and Hidden Sand villages, before they were finally driven off by the ANBU. Naruto's involvement in the invasion wasn't entirely absent from the plot. His benevolence was not only acknowledged by the civilians he saved, but also recognized him with respect from some of the village's traditional ninjas, rather than being perceived as a nuisance or pest. The primary topic of discussion among people today, aside from village recovery, was who the village's latest Chunin might be. Due to the fact that Orochimaru had impersonated and killed the Kazekage shortly after his death, there was no announcement yet. The released Shinobi, who was imprisoned in the Hidden Sand, was due to that. After the fiasco, Naruto remained in the Hokage's office confident that he had been promoted. The fact that Jiraiya's apprenticeship was officially announced the day after the invasion made the matter insignificant. A powerful hug was given to him by his new master, similar to the one he had given Kurenai when she was his first student. Naruto, thank you for your presence, the Hokage said. You may have assumed that I called you to discuss your potential promotion to Chunin, but unfortunately, I have another matter to attend to. Despite feeling deflated, Naruto's expression displayed no signs of disbelief. The Lord Hokage chuckled when asked, what is it? You've been tasked with leading the Raikage to the point where it meets the boundary between the land of fire and the land of hot springs. Naruto observed the Raikage and his 2 bodyguards sitting on a sofa, with the young Raikage wearing blonde hair and the man with dark brown hair who had cleaver sword in his rear-view mirror. The Raikage maintained a fixed gaze and appeared to scan him. Naruto had the odd sensation that he was on the lookout for something, but lacked an understanding of what it was. Naruto inquired, who is the next person to join us? With a smirk, the Raikage looked at him. At first, you were not. The only one with us, but your Hokage insisted on having some of his ninjas accompany us as we approached the border. His gaze widened to Kurenai and Jiraiya, who were sitting on the opposite sofa. The village gates will have two of your companions, Kurenai and Jiraiya, said the Hokage. He then shifted his focus to the Raikage. Lord Raikage, I have a private matter to discuss with Naruto. The Raikage raised his eyebrow, but remained calm and exited the office with his bodyguards. Upon leaving, the Hokage activated two silencing seals with a sequence of hand seal. With a sharp look, he placed his hands on Naruto's desk and folded them in front of him. It seems like your Hokage will question you about our agreement. The Nine-Tails expression was as revolting as ever. Naruto's tenant was causing him trouble and he growled involuntarily, rather than taking it in stride. Shut up, man. Would you want the old guy to jump to conclusions? Naruto, what's wrong? Hokage asked, his voice heavy with suspicion. It's too late to be involved. It seems like the old fool is already questioning you. The Nine-Tails' laughter flooded Naruto's mind, and it took him longer than usual to forget their connection. The Hokage's calculated gaze may have led the Nine-Tails to believe him, which was unfortunate. Jiraiya's expression was more frownful than usual, and his arms were folded. With her arms clasped, Kurenai leaned towards him. Nothing, he replied. How long have you been involved with the Nine-Tails and what is their affiliation with you? The Hokage questioned, his response being a harsh tone. The voice he spoke to after pulling a prank or when it was handed down by one of his former schoolmates was the same. He loathed it. A month or a potential extension, it's possible. Kurenai was the only one who knew about his deal with the Nine-Tails, and Jiraiya's suspicions did not appear to be confirmed. Explore the significance of this statement. Naruto's actions were similar to those described in the anime. After Naruto's story ended, the Hokage explained that his approach to creating a Genjutsu that altered reality was successful. The deep-seated frown of Kurenai was deeply felt. I'm aware that I am anxious about it. There was another girl who could do the same thing as you, but maybe even better than you. Any thought she could generate would be realized. Kurenai halted his movements. Nevertheless, her mind was consumed by a demon, which eventually led to her becoming mentally unstable. What became of the girl? Naruto inquired, somewhat surprised and intrigued by the similarities between the two. Shortly after, Kurenai shut her mouth. She took a deep breath and commented, her chakra was completely sealed to prevent the demon from devouring her. Jiraiya strode through his hair. Naruto, feeling relieved as he responds to the question, is there a limit to your reality? Yeah. The nature of certain Genjutsu means that only the ones that are effective require me to be proficient in their techniques for them to become real. The Genjutsu is not only physically demanding, but it also causes significant physical pain. Due to the sturdiness of his face, it appeared as though the Hokage's fate was indiscernible. Wouldn't you be surprised to find out that the nine-tailed fox is attempting to manipulate you? Normally, he would have rejected it, but there was something about the end of his battle with Sasuke that caught him off guard. He experienced a sudden burst of fury, with his teeth becoming longer, just before he used the hell-viewing Genjutsu. Moments later, it had passed by, but the damage was already done. Besides that, the Nine-Tails had been helpful in a harsh and heavy-handed manner. It's not a question of course. Following the question, he promptly responded, but the Hokage appeared to be unconvinced. Fortunately, Kurenai did and gave him a supportive smile. The Hokage asked Jiraiya to examine Naruto's seal. After nodding, Jiraiya stood in front of Naruto, pulling his shirt up and examining the seal. After completing it, he sat down with Kurenai and gave the Hokage a thumbs up. With a calm demeanor, the Hokage sighed. Naruto, I'm not at all comfortable with you keeping secrets from me, especially when it's so important to him. Naruto's expression was one of a frown. Despite his belief that the Nine Tails were the worst of all evils, it wasn't evil at all, even though it was rude, malicious and enjoyed his misfortune. He was even a part of the Nine Tails. The advice Yujito gave him flashed back to the night after the invasion, when he asked the Nine Tails what its name was. The Nine Tails were uninterested and grumpy on the next day. Although I have a distaste for being deceived, these things always occur, just as much as any other. The Hokage looked down in a possibly sorrowful expression. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was true. He released his breath and carried on with his day. As soon as you finish escorting the Raikage and his entourage, you will be given an extra task to complete. It has been assigned by our own Daime, as he was impressed with your performance. Naruto's eyes dimmed, but his frown grew brighter. Despite the unexpected outcome, it was clear to him that a ninja must be prepared for any type of threat. What's the plan? You answer, along with 3 others, and proceed to the primary stronghold of the Crimson Hand, a formidable group of bandits known as the Phantom Order. The objective is to eliminate the entire group and release the leader of their organization as a sign of your accomplishment. Naruto's eyes were filled with wonder as he read the mission scroll, appreciating the number of bandits in the group. Additionally, the package contained a snapshot and recognized facts about the head of the Crimson Hands group. Your team is already in my selection, the Hokage stated to him. The village gates will be the point of meeting between you and the village. Are you up to date on other inquiries? The Chunin exams had already begun a week ago, and he was about to embark on an A-ranked mission. He would have the benefit of his team's aid, as he was confident that the Hokage would only select the finest ninja available. He sported a big, round smile. It's not something I can't do. Before departing on his grand mission, Naruto had some unfinished business to finish off, and after informing Kurenai and Jiraiya, he headed towards the mostly deserted Uchiha district. He hadn't seen his former teammate since the exams were over, so he apologized to him only before having made up stories. Even though he had some help, a portion of him was thrilled to have been able to defeat Sasuke in combat for the first time ever. Ever since his first loss to the last Uchiha, he had been wanting to do it. He would earn the respect and admiration of his fellow students if he outperformed the top student in the academy. In the event that Sakura outmaneuvered Sasuke, it would be improbable for him to not have liked him. Despite his desire to befriend Sasuke, who was also experiencing loneliness, he felt too jealous of him for his abilities and popularity. Being opponents with him was less challenging. He continued, enduring every defeat, with the hope that things would improve if he didn't surrender. He came to the realization that he didn't have to continue fighting if nothing would change after meeting Kurenai. He came across someone who recognized him for his identity. His lack of recognition from individuals who didn't prioritize him or refused to give him a chance was unnecessary. The idea of him not wanting to be a friend was not on his mind at the time. He would bet money on Sasuke enjoying his agony if he attacked him with the worst memories and had the mindset that ruled out his decision to go to war before the mission's end, as it was not safe for him to do so. The act of humiliating him in front of everyone would have been amazing, as it allowed Sasuke to experience all the pain he endured and receives praise from those who watched their matches. He was no longer that person. He didn't believe Sasuke was his true identity. He had to find a solution for that reason. He arrived at Sasuke's house and made a sound by knocking on the door, knowing that he had access to his sensor. It was launched shortly after. Sasuke asked, "What is your request?" His lips were pressed into a tight line and he was wearing his typical blue shirt and white shorts. Sasuke's mood was somber, but Naruto still had a smile on his lips. "I had the desire to apologize and offer my sincere apology. I wasn't trying to use that jutsu on you." The hell-viewing Genjutsu reference caused Sasuke's chakra to flare up. "Ah, really?" Sasuke asked, his right hand flexing his fist tightly to prevent it from trembling. "I presume you did, as your soul. Focus was on strengthening yourself and moving forward. Naruto's heart rate increased as he recoiled. I didn't mean to, and I just wanted to keep you out of the situation. How can you mess up that badly? That only happened. There is a purpose behind everything that occurs. Naruto drew a breath and felt his face and body relax. Naruto had pondered the reason behind his mistake in using Genjutsu after the exams were over. The process of molding the Genjutsu involved memorizing the hand seals, which were easier to perform with extended duration as long as they remained unchanged. The shorter the hand seal sequence, the more probable it is for him to slip and use another illusion. The illusion could be rectified by a moment's hesitation. Kurenai emphasized the importance of staying calm when practicing Genjutsu to prevent making mistakes. I'm fully cognizant of that, Naruto said. I didn't mean to convey a different message. The illusion I had in mind was changed when I became extremely angry. Naruto's hope that Sasuke would give his apology was the reason for the awkward silence. Then Sasuke sighed. Fine. Excellent. Sasuke extended his hand as Naruto was about to depart. Sasuke's decision to remain silent instead of speaking resulted in an even more awkward situation. Despite the silence, Sasuke conveyed his self-centered nature, emphasizing the need to develop strength and not depend on teammates or associates for achievement. Naruto scowled as he wondered if Sasuke's accusation of selfishness was accurate, which was not the case. Through the use of better friends, he was able to grow so much in such a short period of time. Are you not talking about yourself? Sasuke didn't reply right away. Before I said, okay. But what about being strongest with someone else who can hold that strength for you? Naruto responded by saying, I have friends. I am prone to doing so. I was convinced that going solo was not the way to reach my aspirations. Naruto's expression was unexpected as he blinkered, slightly taken aback. His thoughts swirled, in search of explanations and gears. Who is Sakura? He asked with a small, sincere smile on Sasuke's face. Yeah, Sakura. Upon considering it, he wasn't surprised to find out. The two were in a relationship, and even though Sakura wasn't as fond of him as he used to be, Sasuke could understand his attraction towards her. With a haunting gaze, Sasuke inquired whether having friends was satisfactory. You were still beating me. I'm still weak. Naruto's expression was one of a frown. You don't make friends for the sake of fighting, but because you like them. Sasuke reacted by staring at him. I thought we were on good terms, but then I heard you quit Team 7 and it made me ponder about all of this. Once more, he made a stop. Ultimately, your job is what you are responsible for. Naruto asked, what's the point of trying to make you feel worse for what I did to you? With a shrug, Sasuke smiled. I'm wondering if my perception of you was accurate. He flicked his lips in a classic smooch. I didn't have it. Naruto's relief was evident as he smiled. Softly, it was to be good to know. It's time to start taking action. As Sasuke closed his door, he said to me, look at you at the top. After completing his mission, Naruto left the Uchiha district and headed straight for the Hyuga clan compound. He began to ponder the conversation he had with Sasuke during the journey there. Although Sasuke had his own things to work with, the outcome was better than he had anticipated. The expectation is that things would go smoothly when he apologized to Hinata. Hinata was not found by Naruto at the Hyuga residence. In one of the village's many wooded areas, she was undergoing training in an isolated field. He witnessed her palm striking the tree stump with vicious smacks. Her hands were being pushed back and forth as she kept wiping away sweat from her forehead, her lips taut. After reaching the end point, Naruto's arm paused and she turned his attention towards him. Veins encircled her eyes, and she held her right hand out while her left was raised up to face her side. Instead of her usual beige jacket, she wore a blue long-sleeved shirt. The intensity of her breathing dwindled and she maintained a relaxed posture while holding her hand close by. The Byakugan of her mother was switched off. Naruto. Naruto's smile was met with silence from Hinata. It was strange that he expected her to blush or show signs of nervousness, play with her fingers, and not look at him with a neutral gaze. Hinata, I wanted to apologize for my mistake in winning the exams. Hinata breathed deeply. It's fine. She stopped abruptly, as if she had been searching for the right words. I lost my focus to just the fight, and I wasn't able to keep my mind on it. You didn't do it. Naruto spit his penises out to the audience. This wasn't what he had in store for it. Thanks, that's a great idea. You were angry because Shino wanted to make you pay for what I did to you. Hinata's expression was negatively impacted by his reaction. Shino's protective nature was matched only by his understanding of the importance of protecting himself. I believe he would have done the same to anyone who caused me pain. Hinata's eyes were closely examined by Naruto in a deep breath. Her voice was clear and she didn't struggle to remember what she said, except for trying to ignore his actions and respond. He found it perplexing as Hinata remained the same without any indication of change. Are you confident about the outcome that transpired between us? Hinata nodded and Naruto expressed a slight pinkiness on her nose. It's motivated me to work on improving my training routine so that I won't have to repeat the same mistake again. Naruto exclaimed, that's great. Hinata's face lit up with a smile. Naruto shook his head and asked, are you all right? I expected you to feel anxious around me. You were always present before. I am still in that state of being, she declared. Her expression had turned into a small frown when she reached out to her. I'm putting in a lot of effort to avoid being affected by it, but I won't let it affect me at all. I am seeking my attention. My wish is to have the courage to trust in my own strength, rather than depending on others for guidance. She breathed deeply once more. She said, you were one of the people who really inspired me. Naruto was taken aback by Hinata's statement, even though he knew it had hit the mark. I can't remember why I was not favored by anyone, so what happened? Over and over again, I messed up. Hinata's sole expression was a smile. Your failure and determination to succeed left me inspired, as you never looked back and gave it a second chance. It made me feel like I could trust in my abilities and not give up. Your strength has surpassed that of your presence during our time at the academy, leaving me feeling as though I'm still very much alive. I have the ability to be strong. Naruto's expression was sweet. Thanks to all of you. That's really cool, I'm listening to you. Nevertheless, I must initiate my task. Hinata nodded and Naruto took off. He detected Hinata's movement with his sensor, which seemed like she had a different message in mind, but her intention was to return to the tree stump. She commenced performing an intricate kata of swift strikes and kicks shortly after. It was a positive sign that he could serve as an inspiration to others. Hinata's lack of courage in not attempting to befriend him was a source of distress for him, but he probably wouldn't have noticed or dealt with the situation. In any case, after apologizing, he had a goal to follow. With the knowledge that he was wasting the time of his teachers and teammates, as well as the Raikage's time by forcing him to wait instead of returning home, Naruto quickly made his way to the village gates. He was first met by Kurenai at the gate. Naruto nodded and smiled, satisfied to see his girlfriend again. Yeah. I was underwhelmed by the level of difficulty. Naruto's smile was returned by Kurenai. That's a good point to make. With your presence, we can start the process. It's a good thing you didn't take too much time to finish. Naruto observed Kurenai and surveyed his surroundings. The hidden cloud leader was observed by the Raikage's entourage on one side, while he looked at the hidden creature. Jiraiya and his two teammates were the only ones who could accurately predict his next mission. Enko, a Chunin exams proctor, was among those who approached him and Kurenai. Who's this? She questioned, staring at Naruto. Kurenai, what is your new boy toy? We never thought you were cradle robbers. Naruto reacted with anger to the boy toy comment, after Masane repeated it once more. At the same time, Kurenai's eyes shrunk, but she remained cheerful. I'm not sure what you're trying to convey. She placed her hands on Naruto's shoulders. Anko, who is a friend of mine, can be reached at Naruto's location. Naruto inquired, do you believe it? Yes, I know it's painful to say that, she said in a humorous tone. Anko's reaction was to release her tongue. The person being referred to as Naruto Uzumaki is Anko. I've been instructing him on a sophisticated and intricate art. I have knowledge of his identity, Anko declared. After a brief moment, her mouth closed, giving Naruto the impression that she had been tricked. I got it, no doubt about it. Did you intend to educate the child about the splendor of the tea ceremony, Kurenai? Undoubtedly not. I aimed to instruct Naruto on something that was beneficial, rather than something frivolous. Have you thought of that? Anko muttered, her expression not appearing to fade. I'm not sure, it's a leisurely pursuit that demands concentration and skill. It's far more prestigious than being disgorged in a filthy bar every night. I'm confident that I wouldn't put myself in a low-quality competition, as you can see. I have a set of rules. Ah, I'm aware, smiley face. Anko's expression had turned into a frown, replacing his previous smirk. I was aware that Genjutsu was your subject of discussion. The new, serious Kurenai was a source of frustration for Naruto. The Kurenai that I was acquainted with played a significant role in the party's existence. Kurenai's grip on Naruto loosened, and then tightened once more as she began to rub his shoulders, causing him to experience chills. Naruto said to Anko, Kurenai-sensei is a pretty good fun character. She asserts that there is a time and place for everything to be fulfilled. He looked up and saw the lovely smile on Kurenai's face. Naruto's other, more violet-haired colleague told them, Naruto is right. She was attired in a chnin flak jacket and black pants, with her katana attached to her back and forehead protector tied to the biceps. He was looked down at by a warm brown eye, and Naruto seemed almost familiar. We can unwind as soon as we have sufficient time. Kurenai responded with a firm and unambiguous response, saying, Igeo, you're absolutely correct. She released Naruto, who felt a sudden chill from the absence of Kurenai's comforting embrace. Jiraiya was scribbling something in a notebook when Naruto didn't take any notice of him. He thought it was more a result of his research, but he couldn't confirm that. Jiraiya smiled and closed the book after catching him looking at it, as if to ask for something. We've had enough of a good time, so let's take this performance on the road, he said. I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn patience, said the Raikage. The Raikage was once again observed by Naruto when he looked at him. He had been persistently gazing at Naruto's general direction since he first arrived. The gang of ninja headed north towards the Land of Fire's boundary, which is adjacent to the Land of Hot Springs. Naruto had recommended a defensive formation for protection, but Jiraiya disregarded him by warning him to avoid attacks on ninjas. After a few minutes, Naruto was seen walking alongside the Raikage. The Raikage stated that, we have finally reached Nagasaki, remarking, Naruto Uzumaki, let's meet again. Naruto nodded as he spoke. He had encountered 3 Kages before him, and they resembled the Raikage in his own way. His chakra supplies were colossal, emitting the intensity of lightning. Welcome to the world, Lord Raikage. The Raikage asked, why are you being so formal? He cut Naruto off before he could respond. You can stand on ceremony with me, but you don't have to do it. I am not the 4th Raikage, but rather AR. There are no honorifics required. Despite his confusion, Naruto refused to comply with the Raikage's request. Alright, I say. His curiosity took over, leading him to ask, is that short? Which only made him chuckle in amusement. It's not a question of course. The Raikage are known by the name A, but we must find a companion who is named B. The Raikage's partner is meant to protect him and maximize his power when they engage in combat. The bond between A and B was reminiscent of that between Tailed Beast and Jinchuriki, as Naruto discovered. If the Jinchuriki were to die, the Tailed Beast would be responsible for protecting them. By giving its Jinchuriki the ability to possess its own power, the Tailed Beast could also bring out the most powerful one. It is only possible to form a bond once, and if the Nine Tails are not willing, it would be difficult for anyone else to become the official Jinchuriki of the species. It was a very difficult time. The Nine Tails' booming laughter amplified the significance of this observation. Naruto's response to it made him smile. He said, "You could say that and it wouldn't be wrong." Naruto became somewhat agitated when the two were left to suffer from silence. He didn't mind the silence, but he was curious as to why A had taken such a strong interest in him. Despite A's insistence that he didn't need to treat him like a Kage, despite his unwillingness to push. He was planning to ask, but the Raikage's blonde bodyguard interrupted him. "I wanted to know how you utilized Genjutsu in the Chunin exams. My impression left a good impression on me." Naruto's expression was one of smile, with a backup look on his face. "Thanks, I appreciate it, man." A said to him, "That's C. He possesses expertise in Genjutsu and is highly skilled in this area." His other bodyguard was also pointed at by him. "Dowie, on my right hand." Darui nodded in agreement and had a lazy demeanor towards him. In that respect, he was very much like Shikamaru. When Naruto looked at her, she flashed a smile and held up two fingers to show him Yujito. He gave it back before returning to the Raikage. Karui and Omoi were seen in action during the exams. He pointed at the two genitalia while conversing with one another. Samui, the young lady sitting next to them, is a crucial aspect of their group. Naruto shifted his gaze to observe Samui's eyes and almost fainted while looking at her cold eyes. He returned to see, "If you can, I'd be grateful if you could share some of your knowledge and experience in Genjutsu." C contemplated it briefly before nodding off. "It's not a concern here." Naruto was informed by C about the potential benefits of using elemental chakra as a conduit for Genjutsu, and also about how one could stack two if they were at high risk during combat. Kurenai had a history of talking about the latter, but she didn't share that sentiment. Even though he had serious doubts, there was the chance that she wasn't aware of it. Naruto's conversation with C regarding Genjutsu ended eventually. Naruto's friend gave C a smile and told him, it was nice to talk about Genjutsu with he who is just starting out. Naruto's facial expressions were characterized by a smile that spread throughout his body. "It's not a problem at all. Thank you for sharing this with me, as I have gained a lot of knowledge." The smile on C's face lit up and he left to walk beside his partner, Darui. As daylight dipped, and Naruto and the other ninja had lunch, so they continued their journey to the border. Naruto was seen walking next to Samui this time. He wished to remain with Kurenai for the remainder of his trip, but she was preoccupied with handling Enko's needs. The two were surrounded by Igeo, who was able to engage in conversation with them. He glanced at Samui once more. Despite her impassive expression, she seemed to be satisfied with the continuous silence. The last time he saw her, it was when she had saved her teammate from death at the hands of Niji Hyuga. "Are you Samui?" was the question posed by Naruto. When Samui looked at him, he nodded with a firm nudity. "Hiromi, how is the girl? Is she okay?" Samui asked, her voice as cool as his. She pressed her lips tightly. Naruto shrugged off the question, "What's your reason for asking?" She expressed her desire to advance, but she confronted the wrong person and was almost killed. "I acknowledge that these things occur, but it doesn't seem like it." "You are present here, but she is not with me," Naruto said. Despite not being really curious, he felt like continuing to converse with the blonde Chunin. The sword is in your possession, while Karui and Omoi have their katana. Hiromi appeared out of place. I was promoted in January, but it didn't stop us from drafting her onto our team for the exams, Samui explained. She is not incompetent or unkind, but her ability to seduce is her exclusive skill set. Samui questioned why she didn't possess the necessary knowledge for the transformation. Jutsu. I suspect she did, but her focus was more on what led to her successes rather than exploring other ninja styles like Genjutsu or boxing. As an apprentice to my sensei Killer Bee, I trained him and later formed a team with my teammates who became genin. Our training led us to live and fight as a unit. You may have reason to believe that Hiromi felt out of place, given her lack of similar experiences to us and inability to adapt to our team's dynamic. Naruto's expression was one of pure happiness as he smiled at her. Thanks for sharing this information with me. Samui tilted her head and walked at a slightly faster pace. He wondered why she remained so cold, even though she had friends and a sensei who was very much in tune with her. It's conceivable that she was similar to Sasuke, who had some sort of tragic experience. Sasuke's emotions were expressed through his own words. He could have attempted to solve it, but he believed it would require a lot of work. It's conceivable that she simply wanted to take pleasure in the journey. The beauty of Kurenai's wine-red eyes caught his eye, and he noticed the young woman stared at him with admiration. She gave him a wink when he turned around and tried to make eye contact, which caused his cheeks to light up. She was walking alone, and while she suggested hiding their relationship, they didn't have to hide anything. Regrettably for him, Kurenai initiated a conversation with Zar. Although C was a nice guy, he couldn't help but feel angry when someone took the opportunity to hang out with his girlfriend. Naruto breathed deeply. He was acting foolishly. He knew that he had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with her, and Kurenai would accompany him on the mission. There was no need for him to be angry. Naruto stated, as he came closer to the wreckage. Being alone at the front of the group allowed him to pass the time, which was a perfect opportunity to discover why A had such strong feelings for him. He asked, "What are you looking for? How did you come to know me?" I wanted to keep my skills hidden for as long as possible because I didn't want to reveal anything about myself. He smirked. I'm not a man who is lucky. My scout is among the best in the world. It was more of an accident than anything else that led to your discovery. He was keeping tabs on the movements of the upcoming Mizukage. I was skeptical when he first mentioned you to me. His description of your appearance made me want to know more. I had a friend who was just like you, I can tell you that. He was a once-in-a-lifetime ninja. I had to confirm and verify that my intuition was accurate. Naruto was captivated by A's explanation and asked, "What did you think?" It was more logical that A's scout was trailing someone as menacing as Mei, but his knowledge of a genius like him was much more captivating. You're an orphan, Naruto said, nodding slowly. As for the matter, nothing objectionable about that. Naruto shook his head and asked if people knew who his father was. It's not a question, of course. Despite the Hokage's insistence on his knowledge, A was left confused as to why he would have learned about his father. Jiraiya was in discussion with Darui about his novel when he last checked. It seems that Darui had a fondness for him. Jiraiya was also seemingly noticed by someone. I don't have the authority to say it. In a fit of rage, Naruto expressed his dissatisfaction. The issue wasn't whether or not A knew his father. His quest to uncover the identities of either or both parents had been dealt another setback. He breathed deeply and gazed at Jiraiya. Pervy sage, what caused you to arrive so quickly? What? Jiraiya exclaimed softly as he looked at him. Why am I unable to communicate with my preferred student? I was considering teaching you an A rank in Jutsu, but your behavior would be inappropriate. With deep emotion and longing, Naruto sighed. I had a mere curiosity. Jiraiya's expression brightened as he smiled, noting that his intention was to leave nothing behind. "I'll be honest with you, I'm just taking my word for it." As the sun began to set, Naruto and his companions were approaching the entrance threshold of the Land of Hot Springs. There was no significant happening and most people were satisfied with a leisurely pace. "This is the place where we are going to part ways," C explained. "Yeah," Darui retorted. "We appreciate your assistance in escorting us and we're pleased with the job done." Naruto expressed a smile of satisfaction at the praise. He stooped to his death as Karui stared at him. "Good day, Naruto, a kind-hearted individual." Naruto's friend Shikamaru is not a stranger, and he nodded in agreement. "Ah, I am not," he said. "I'm in your village the next time, and I want a rematch. Do you mind offering me one?" He replied, carefully guarding his headaches. According to Omoi, if you continue to fixate on Shikamaru, it's likely that others will mistake him for someone else. Upward motion was being felt on the corners of his lips. Karui swore to himself. "I am seeking your input, please. My intention is to physically assault him, not to go out with him. I would rather go out with that Chai kid than Shikamaru, at least he had the audacity to do it." As with Shikamaru, he also relinquished his seat, Omoi noted. That was enough to spark another quarrel between them. Naruto felt that they were close friends, but their disagreement caused him to reconsider his feelings. After diverting his attention from the genin, Yujito approached him. During the trip, she had no personal contact and Naruto inquired about her involvement, during which she revealed that she was spending time with her tailed beast, Matatabi. "Yujito, I am grateful for the opportunity to help you," he said. "You're the reason I wouldn't have one if not for you." Yujito's expression was one of pure happiness, and he smiled. "I take pleasure in it, and that's the end result. Until then, I must find a way to stay connected with you." She glanced around a bit before leaning down and kissing him softly with her lips. "Keep your distance, and remember what I told you about the person in question." Naruto was too stunned to move when he told Yujito that she had rejoined her group. Yujito's unexpected expression of love was a reaction that wasn't unique to him. The sight of Jiraiya joking in his notebook and Kurenai's gaze giving him a grimace caused A to laugh. Naruto could sense tension in the air as Kurenai looked at him with a frown on her soft lips. The hidden cloud ninjas were left alone by Naruto, but they kept eye contact until Kurenai turned away. Naruto's shoulders were made to feel like they were falling as Kurenai said, "We must leave." Confused Igeo and Anko flashed. Jiraiya shook his head and said, "I thought you were lucky, Naruto," exclaiming. He closed his notebook and tucked it into his kimono shirt. "I've got some duties to attend to, but when I come back, I'll assess you, so ensure that you do well on your mission and continue with your training when you have the chance." Naruto responded with a more positive attitude towards Kurenai than his dictatorship. Jiraiya merely smiled and tilted his head in the direction of the other kunoichi, leaving shortly after and disappearing into the surrounding vegetation. He attempted to disregard Kurenai's anger and focused on his teammates. In addition to Kurenai, Igeo was also chosen by the Hokage as the Anbu cat, who worked with his team at the Land of Waves. Despite being chosen by the Hokage, Anko was unknown to him, and her skill may have been advantageous during the mission. Like Sasuke, Orochimaru's curse mark had a negative effect on her chakra. Anko's curse mark wasn't smacked with a seal, unlike Sasuke, but she appeared to be unfazed by its presence. It raised his perception of her by a considerable amount, provided she could avoid the curse mark and function without it. Kurenai conveyed his annoyance by saying, "Naruto, keep your eyes peeled. We must stay in close proximity to the bandit camp to avoid losing our way, so let's start moving forward." She sped off before Naruto could respond, but then Anko followed suit and she traveled into the woods. With a smile on his face, Igeo looked back at him. With a frown on his face, Naruto nodded and said, "We should just move on from this." "All right. Despite the obstacles, Naruto and Igeo managed to catch up with Kurenai and Anko. The conversation between the two individuals was being carried by the latter, with Kurenai nodding or uttering a brief statement in response to what I have asked you about. He was displeased because he had a sense of responsibility for Kurenai's sudden change in behavior. He desired to have a conversation with her about it, but due to Anko and Igeo's presence in their lives, he had to settle on talking to her instead. Naruto asked Igeo, who had been in close proximity to the Hokage, what led him to pick you up. I'm the combat medic for this team, she stated. As an illustration, she had one of her hands turn bright green, releasing the soothing chakra within seconds. The story of how I became proficient in medical jutsu is captivating. Are you interested in hearing it? Naruto nodded. Several years ago, while I was on a mission with Kakashi, one of our medics was killed. The Anbu cat, who was part of Kakashi's old team in the Land of Waves, was known to him as an old friend. Their violet hair and katana were the same, as was their chakra. Igeo's expression changed to happiness when Naruto told her about his observation. That's a pretty good sign of you, folks. Why don't you cover up with a mask? I'm not well known outside of my Anbu affiliation, right? She asked. Due to my availability, unlike some other Anbu medics, Lord Hokage chose to assign me to this mission. Naruto smiled and told the Anbu operative more about her story. Our medic's passing left us with no choice but to rely on learning advanced medical skills. Our mission was not just to provide basic first aid, but also to ensure that wounds can be treated with care without causing infection or suffering from pain. Once we finished the mission, Kakashi recommended that we learn medical jutsu in case something similar happened again. We were taught that we should always be ready for anything and everything. We were on the brink of paying for our medic skills, which we took for granted. He remarked, that's terrible, as he spoke. Whether it was a disagreement with someone on the team or something else, being ready for any situation was important advice. Apart from Genjutsu, do you possess any other abilities? Igeo inquired. I have no trouble with chakras. Once more, she smiled at him. It's a good idea that you're asking these questions, and I think they are appropriate. Asking the right questions can aid a skilled squad leader in planning ahead. What's the reason for mentioning that you'll be leading us on our mission, right? Confused Naruto's mouth was ajar. Why am I still here? It's been 4 months since I became a human. I'm not as experienced as all of you. Kurenai, in fact, made the decision to do it. She wished to give you an opportunity to lead us and get used to taking charge during a mission. Initially, she promised that you would seek advice from us, but now she does this to me. She shook her head and frowned. Naruto observed Kurenai's leaping from one tree to another while looking ahead. There was no sign of complacency in her behavior. I speculate that her behavior is indicative of a desire, but I'm not sure what the motive was. Her tone is stoic and unapproachable, even though she usually pays attention and listens intently. That's a great insight to have. Naruto was slightly alarmed when Igeo surprised him with a smile. You need to be close to her to comprehend her well enough. With a shrug, Naruto proceeded to say. And I spend a lot of time with her, she said. She's also a teacher to me, right? The rest of the trip was spent in relative secrecy. The fact that Igeo kept giving him looks worried caused him to worry about Kurenai's suspicion that there was more between them than just him. Even if she knew, it didn't make much of a difference. Kurenai was resolute in his commitment to maintain their romantic relationship, but he couldn't do anything if someone put all the signs together. They reached the town closest to where the Crimson Hand were reported after nightfall. Kurenai didn't hesitate in entering the village as she entered it. Igeo responded to Kurenai, wait for me, saying, wow, I heard you off. Kurenai halted his walking and turned around, disregarding Naruto's gaze. Did you really say you were supposed to lead Naruto? Or did you forget? Well, apparently because Enko had to follow him. He didn't know it personally, but he would give his best effort. Kurenai's expressions were also frowned upon. I maintained my memory without a second thought. Kurenai, what's up with you? Enko said. I thought, well, you've finally regained your way and gone back to that idiotic notion. Naruto is a young man, not naughty. I'm not willing to die because I have to comply with the plan of a careless child. As if she was waiting for the right answer, Enko had been looking at Naruto every time she touched him. Despite wanting to shout, he held his tongue and acknowledged that there was no reason to scream at Enko for her to hear him. Is it not the most suitable moment for him to learn? Igeo inquired. This issue has already been addressed by us. If Naruto makes a bad move, we can teach him from that mistake and pass on our experience to the next generation. Enko sighed and exhaled her hands as she lifted her head. If we're unsuccessful in the mission, it's on your mind to not care. Naruto's overall direction was followed by Kurenai, who then crossed her arms and glanced at it. Naruto, where is the best place to spend the night? He shook his head and contemplated. Although not as large as the Hidden Leaf Village, the town was slightly larger than the village where he and Team 7 had lodged in the backcountry of the Land of Waves. The town had a single long thoroughfare that later divided into multiple backstreets. One of the biggest structures was a hotel. Kurenai growled at the question, is there a hotel? Enko smiled bitterly and Igeo gave him a consoling look. As Naruto led his teammates to the hotel, he tried to ignore the growing sense of fear that was creeping in and entered the lobby. Naruto observed the strange object, pondering his intended location for a moment. Just as it did when he looked into the clerk's eyes at the only desk in the lobby, Enko grumbled and closed his eyes. Our leader, despite his bravery, is clueless about where to go. Naruto exclaimed, yes, I am. With a startling scowl on her face, she proceeded, prove it. Kurenai's throat clearance was heard in the largely empty lobby. Enko, that's satisfactory. Refrain from constantly tarnishing Naruto's character when presented with the opportunity. Reverse her behavior of being a careless child who whines when she doesn't meet her aspirations. He is expected to gain knowledge from this. Enko's expression was one of a frown and he shrugged it off. Wouldn't you be more accurate in describing our rooms, kid? Naruto snuffed out smoke and quickly made his way to the clerk, hoping to complete the job as soon as possible. With a half-sleeping expression, the clerk closed his eyes and put away the manga he was reading. His slicked back hair was in sharp contrast to his pink shirt. Welcome to the Fluffy Rabbit Hotel. Kanzuya is the person I am referring to. Naruto's laughter caused Kanzuya to squirm and ask for help. Sorry, Naruto said to his listeners. With a dismissive tone, Kanzuya waved his hand. Kanzuya inquired, do you think that's a name that is so amusing that almost everyone gets it? My job is great, but I'm not thrilled with it. I just want to be a low-level employee and that's the only positive about it. I require 4 rooms, can you furnish one? Kanzuya spied of an extensive diary or notebook and quipped. Children, it's a shame there are only 2 rooms left. It's necessary to disclose it to a female friend. Is it abnormal that Naruto is traveling with 3 women? Then Kanzuya shrugged. Last night, I bestowed rooms upon a shark man and an unpleasant poker face. The legendary sucker and her girlfriend made a trip to this place once. In my opinion, there should be a standard protocol in place for ninjas to anticipate the unexpected. According to Naruto, it's impossible to dispute that, he said. He was given his keys by Kanzuya and given directions to the rooms where his team would be sleeping. After receiving payment from Naruto and receiving instructions from Kanzuya, he returned to his team and was led to the first room. Upon reaching there, he smiled sheepishly and turned around. I am aware that one of you has to inform me. I'll tell you, Enko whispered, giving him a seductive look. He observed how tightly her mesh shirt pressed against her body as she leaned in. Naruto shook his head in an instant. He was now getting really irritated by Anko. She had been undermining him and now she wants to sleep in the same room with him. No thanks. Kurenai said, I am in agreement. I'm supposed to be Naruto's sensei, so if only I could stay with him. Anko exclaimed with satisfaction. Afterward, she noticed a familiar glow in her eyes. You're probably thinking, you want to keep your boy toy to yourself. Naruto stated, that's not what I wanted, by gazing down to conceal the rosy marks on his cheeks. You've been consistently rude to me, and that's why I don't get on with you. He looked at Igeo, dismissing Anko's half-hearted gaze. I'm not confident in my knowledge of you, so I don't know where you are. According to Igeo, that's fine, she took her Naruto key. The key was marked with the number of the room. Unless my boyfriend is with me, I wouldn't want to share a room with any other person, regardless of the situation. A person I had a good rapport with was someone I knew very well. Naruto greeted Igeo with a smile and observed them exit. Almost opening the door to his and Kurenai's room, he heard Anko say, "Don't be too playful." She laughed back quickly. Naruto shook his head and entered the room. The room was equipped with 2 beds, a bathroom, chair, and TV. Sitting on the bed closest to the window, Kurenai took up the other bed that was nearest. He looked at Kurenai and made eye contact. He questioned why she was so distant, why her emotions were tightly held back and she could not take action. The previously strained relationship felt like it had reached boiling point. The tension had a negative impact on the Nine Tails, who had been silent about it for most of the day. He was about to ask Kurenai what was wrong when she suddenly got up. She said, "I will take a shower. Attempt to get some rest during the night. It's going to be a long, drawn-out day. I'm curious, why haven't you been feeling so angry lately?" Naruto asked, slightly frowning. Kurenai remained silent and ran towards the toilet. After opening it, she turned around and gave him a soft smile that didn't even cross her eyes. "I'll inform you later." Naruto was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling. By empathizing with others, he avoided fighting when it was not necessary and experienced empathy for those in his life. It was more concerning when he couldn't assist them or when someone became angry with him without any explanation. He comprehended the agony of solitude, the bitterness of being despised for his inaction, and a variety of other types of suffering. He hoped that others would not experience the same suffering as him. He was unable to assist them without comprehending the cause of their pain. The only thing he could do for Kurenai was wait until she explained the reason. Naruto was compelled to sit up and feel his arms as his wet feet collided with the tiled floor. After falling asleep, the shower's soothing sound resembled a dream. With tears in his eyes, Naruto turned to check on the bathroom door after hearing it creak. Naruto was left torn between admiring Kurenai and noticing her tightly draped clothing, which revealed a significant amount of body fat from her cleavage. Her red tank top was cut off at the mid-thigh area, and black shorts. Her choice of outfit was thought to be a deliberate move to make her more appealing to him. Naruto was aware that he was taking in the sight, with eyes racing across her body while consuming food. He expected her to chastise him, but she didn't. She simply sat on her bed and used the towel that was draped over her shoulders to rub it against her hair. She wasn't directing his gaze towards him, enabling him to observe the flawless, smooth skin of her back and shoulders. After completing her task, she turned her gaze back to her shoulder. The edges of her mouth trembled upwards. According to Naruto, "You're all set to shower." Naruto's blinking was followed by another blink. With a fleeting glance, he faced away from Kurenai and let the heat in his face cool him down before taking another deep breath. "Alright, I can't resist the thought." He resorted to using the bathroom and taking a cold shower to cool off. He persisted in his quest to uncover Kurenai's issue, and his adoration of her physique would cause him to lose interest. After noticing the shower's coldness, he turned the knobs and heated the water, taking a moment to relax in the warm water. Naruto drained himself by turning off the water and then changing into his pajamas. When he got out of the bathroom, the room was dark and only lit up by outside light. As Kurenai slept, her chest kept moving upward and downward in an even manner. He tried to sleep by closing his eyes as he went to bed. Despite his efforts, he was unable to sleep soundly. He threw and turned, his head resting on his face as a result of the strain he felt. He didn't experience any signs of weariness or drowsiness. He sat up and examined the source of his current anxiety as he was conscious. The question of Kurenai's annoyance to him led to persistent inquiries. After Yujito kissed him, the hidden cloud ninja left them and the situation started. His eyes erupted in excitement. It's conceivable that was it. The reason for the problem was unclear to him, as it was just a goodbye kiss and didn't last long. It could have been something else. Either way, there was no use in pondering the reasons behind Kurenai's actions. He whispered, "Kurenai," and asked if she was awake. The opening of one eye caused her to be in a state of sheer disbelief. It was fortunate that she had slept with him instead of turning her back on him. "What is it?" Naruto muttered slightly from the harsh tone of her voice, but carried on. He had no grounds to retreat. No such thing exists. The statement made by Kurenai stated that honesty is a crucial aspect of any relationship. "What caused you to be so upset yesterday?" Kurenai muttered to herself before taking a deep breath. Her posture was somewhat unbalanced and Naruto noticed pink creases on her nose bridge. "You're not overly concerned, isn't it?" Naruto nodded in response. Kurenai's breath had an unusual, foul odor. "I have no idea what I sinned about." Kurenai grinded and placed a hand on his knee. "You didn't do anything wrong." Naruto's expression was grimacing as he gritted his teeth. He observed Kurenai tremble as he almost raised his voice. "Now, what's upsetting you?" "I was irritated and had a bad day. The Cloud Ninja really annoyed me and I didn't realize how much it had affected my mood until later. I'm not sure what triggered me, so I can't pinpoint the cause." Naruto's sigh was heard. Although not the Nine Tails, he was informed that Kurenai was leaving out certain parts of the story. It must be done in some way. He recognized a lost cause when he saw one and she clearly didn't want to have the conversation. Fine. After that, Kurenai laid back on her bed and gave him a long kiss before returning to the drawing board. "I didn't mean to cause you any anxiety, so I apologize for that." She refrained from speaking and remained silent by closing her eyes. Naruto pondered on his bed while lying down. He would either try to get some rest, concentrate on the mission upon waking up and ask Kurenai when they were finished, or wait until she was prepared to tell him. He had already resorted to thinking negatively about his girlfriend. In fact, it's more than enough time. Naruto was able to doze off by meditating for a few minutes, which was fortunate. He smiled and examined his chakra supplies while doing that, noticing that there was a significant amount of Yin chakra. He was only able to achieve partial balance in his Yin and Yang chakra after some time had passed. The day after, he emerged from his bed with a smile on his face, stretching and feeling his joints pop. Despite having managed to avoid his headache and getting some rest last night, he was now prepared to tackle any mission planning responsibilities. Kurenai stepped into the bathroom without giving her any indication and got straight back to work, washing his hair, cleansing his face, brushing his teeth, and donning his ninja attire. As he exited, a genuine smile was visible on Kurenai's face as she sat on her bed with her usual outfit. She mentioned that they were energetic, she said. Naruto nodded and asked if you had a good night's sleep. Excellent. Before responding, he heard a knock on the door and immediately used his sensor to scan the people behind it. Anko and Igeo arrived at the location and were welcomed by the hostess before moving towards a table that had been set up between the two beds. After finding a seat for everyone, Anko took out Sachich from her jacket pocket and flipped the scroll over onto the table, displaying, "What is there in this map with some writing here and there and others? Last night, I found some information on the Crimson Hand. I find it irritating when I am uncertain about what I'm getting into." Anko's tone was notably professional as she revealed that the Crimson Hand was divided into 3 camps, with the largest and most fortified being the one that housed the leader of the group. The Crimson Hand was not immune to the presence of a few ninja, as confirmed by the mission intel. "What's your opinion, leader?" Anko asked after she provided her answers. Naruto pondered over the map and utilized Anko's information, including the numerical data that indicated the number of bandits in each camp, to determine the locations of the encampments. This was the first time he had made any such preparations. In Wave, the bridge defense was managed by Kakashi and the ANBU squad, while Sakura took charge in the Forest of Death. Though not quite as sharp as Kakashi or Sakura, he was aware that the most effective way to showcase his best footwork would be to push beyond his limits. The initial step is to create chaos. Anko inquired, "What's going on?" Naruto replied, "If they do that, they'll send them reinforcements." "What's your method for doing that?" Naruto inquired, referencing my shadow clones, with his expression changing into a strainy one. "While the bandits are battling them, I desire 3 of you to be stationed at each camp and observe the number of bandit exits and whether the ninjas remain with them or not. Once that's over, I'll just stop using my clones." Before Anko could speak, Naruto raised an eyebrow and aimed to silence her with a hand. He went back to the map. "The conclusion is that once we have identified the movements of the bandits, we can use traps to ensnare them. When we attack each camp with complete impunity, we'll have to deal with a reduced number of bandits." Anko stated that the element of surprise is no longer present, as well. "What is the purpose of Naruto's warning to them?" He replied, "We can't just jump in," not disheartening that his question was legitimate. "In the event that we can't defeat a group of bandits in one camp, we'll be outnumbered and incapable of holding our own. The main camp would still need to be attacked, which would pose a greater risk to my plan." Anko didn't respond right away, but smiled in agreement when she saw it. "All right, a decent thing." Kurenai said, "I am in agreement." "I concur," Igeo declared. Naruto was surprised by the positive response to his plan and smiled at the compliments. "I prefer to retire in the largest group, as it will remain the most fortified camp even after I've thinned the circle." In agreement, Igeo nodded. Naruto asked, "When do you intend to strike?" He looked at him in a frown. "I'm uncertain about this." "Anko, when do you think it would be a good idea to start the attack?" "Good to go, seeking my input." "Nevertheless, we should strike them during the day and determine their patrols and deployments in the morning." In hindsight, Naruto may have thought it was a tactic to manipulate Anko's character by attacking her, but he couldn't see any reason for opposing her plan. Kurenai asked, "What is your opinion on Anko's plan?" It appeared to me that Igeo didn't share the same, with only a small frown on her face. "It would be better if we switched the timing from midnight to daybreak for the recon and vice versa. Our targets will be fatigued and prone to errors, so it should be simpler to dispose of them." Kurenai and Anko both seemed to support Igeo's plan. Naruto was uncertain about the subject. "During sunset, our adversaries will also become tired, especially if the camp is continuously operated during the day. Setting traps in dim light is likely to increase the likelihood of bandits detaching, which also means that we can retreat more easily." Instead, Igeo simply smiled. "As always, impressive." Naruto nodded and replied, "Do you suppose we'll be doing recon in the morning and attack at night?" "It's in my favor, for the best outcome. I'm sorry for the inconvenience." Igeo led him away while waving him. "You're the boss," and I fully embrace the fact that my ideas may not be the most effective. Don't attempt to apologize for that, or you may be met with a teammate who will try to force you into doing what they want. Naruto inquired, with his eyes widened to the fullest extent. Despite being part of Team 7, he never had any significant issues with his teamwork. Yeah, Anko exclaimed with a smile. You'll be subjected to constant bullying and mistreatment from people who don't like you or are jealous of your leadership abilities, despite being a small child with immature whisker marks. Naruto observed Anko's facial expression and noticed how wide her smile had grown. You're like, right? Anko asked with a gasp. Me, how can you accuse me of something so reprehensible? She laughed loudly, before abruptly stopping for a few seconds. No, not at all, that's not the way it is. Naruto paused to calm down and disregarded the impending headache that had ensued from hearing Anko's double-dealing. Kurenai appeared to be experiencing the same thing, grabbing the bridge of her nose in frustration. The only thing that Igeo did was shake her head. Say what you will about it, I don't care. From my perspective, we should initiate the mission appropriately tomorrow morning. Everyone, including Anko, agreed with the statement you made. Naruto was alone in the town streets for hours, long after the mission plan had been established. Kurenai and the other kunoichi were eager to explore the shops in this small town. Despite his desire to spend time with Kurenai, shopping was not an option for him because he wasn't buying anything important. Jiraiya had also advised him to avoid getting in the way of a woman at hawking prices on multiple occasions. He devised a justification and declared his intention to conduct personal searching. Naruto left after they purchased it. He questioned whether they were purchasing new garments, and imagined Kurenai trying on different attire. Outfits that showcased her flawless physique, like the tank top and shorts she wore last night or the black dress she chose for their first date. She was wearing a necklace and earrings as well. It dawned on him that he had not witnessed Kurenai wearing anything other than those two pieces of jewelry before. He didn't observe any other jewelry in her apartment. Naruto spent the next few minutes looking for a jewelry store and making sure that others, particularly Kurenai, didn't get misled by his actions. He wished Kurenai would take pleasure in the gift. Even if she didn't, he still wanted to give her something to show appreciation for choosing him as her boyfriend. The corner shop's display of silver and gold trinkets caught his eye. He smiled and heard a bell chime. He had considered buying Kurenai jewelry, but recognized the importance of examining every detail before making a purchase. After he had entered the jewelry store, an elderly woman emerged from the back of the shop. She had slashed shoulders and silvery gray hair, but her eyes were a deep brown with the wisdom of an old person. Naruto was unable to fathom the reason behind her lip curling, which must have been unpleasant. What is a young ninja like in this place? I need to buy something for my girlfriend, Naruto said. The woman proceeded to the counter and then looked directly at him, possibly through him. Are you confident that you're not here to commit a crime? Naruto exclaimed, his head shaking slightly. There was no benefit in doing that. Do not engage in any verbal or nonverbal activity. The woman's gaze softened, a smile caught on, and her body became more flat and inviting to the eye. If that girl of mine is something I should ask for? She grimaced as she saw Naruto staring at her with a cautious look, having not moved in one step. Naruto was stunned by a forceful explosion and the woman pulled her hand, having previously snapped her fingers to attract attention. Your child, and I need to make it clear that I don't want to be a burden to you. Naruto's gaze caught with a blink before he headed towards the receptacle. He was initially displeased with the woman's change in behavior, but now that she appeared more at ease, he believed a problem wouldn't arise. He observed rings of different kinds sitting in glass cases as he looked around. They were out because he knew they were used for marriage proposals. Even though Kurenai had earrings on his head, he didn't know enough about them to buy a set. While searching the store for his desired item, he began to slowly move the glass case with his hand. The bright olive bracelet on his wrist caught his eye, which gave him a sense of inspiration. After the exams were over, Shikamaru handed it to him and he was confident that it would remain there forever. He simply needed to look at it if he wanted to be reminded of his relationship with his best male friend. That was it? The old woman seemed to detect the glow in Naruto's eyes as a slight laughter trickled out. She said, "I know what you want to buy right now, it's like your gut feeling. I have a specific need for this. An ordinary bracelet. That can withstand the test of a ninja for an eternity. A piece of jewelry with yellow and red gemstones, inscribed with her name. Are there any other things you'd like to add?" Naruto hesitated, wondering if he had any further thoughts. He shook his head after the incident. The woman proceeded to pick out a few bracelets from her collection and selected 2 to give to him. The bracelets' links were engraved with flowers, providing more intricate details. The other was plain, but a lot cheaper. Apparently, they both had the ability to endure blows from various objects, but he was advised that a blade enhanced by chakra by an experienced Genjutsu practitioner or another means of attack would be enough to break the bracelet. The cost of the bracelet was too high for him to justify, so he decided on that particular one. The woman responded with a smile. "You'll have to come back tomorrow. Your order will be finished by then. All I have to do is ask for her name." Naruto's expression was a smile. It'd be a reasonable decision for him to name his girlfriend, given that the old woman wasn't even in the Hidden Leaf Village. Kurenai. Kurenai is fortunate to have a young man who values her. Naruto nodded and put on a blush that lit up his face with love. "You're in love with her," she said. "Yeah. I'm extremely fortunate to have her. It is my wish that he can find a way to bridge the gap that had formed between them." A few days later, Naruto and his companions were occupied with the last preparations for their assault, while sitting around a table in an hotel room situated in town near the Crimson Hand. They were facing the map they were using and had added a few items to it. The number of reinforcements sent by camps to a camp under attack is indicated by the arrows pointing towards and away from the camps. The camps were, as expected, heavily fortified and employed skilled methods to ensure their safety, which explains how they managed to avoid the borders of other nations without suffering significant casualties. The main camp's decision to send reinforcements and a platoon to reinforce the rest of the attacked camp surprised Naruto. Naruto was close to being caught by a group of bandits he was planning to escape from during one of the raids. A ninja noticed his movements and approached him, while his group followed closely behind. He had a clear idea of his mistake at first, but instead of panicking, he took it and turned the tables. In the woods, Igeo had been keeping watch over Naruto to see if he got caught up in his actions. She was about to intervene, but when he vanished with a quickly cast image, she proceeded to take his lead. The bandits entered the clearing where Naruto was hiding, and the ninja, a brown-haired man with petty appearance, carefully observed the area. One of the bandits expressed dissatisfaction with being led around on a wild goose chase, but Naruto then returned to confront them and forced them to follow him. To gain insight into Naruto's plans, Igeo held her hand. Despite the ninja's initial scanning, the bandits quickly took over the area and gave chase. Naruto rushed to Igeo's location, stated that the bandits were after his clone and fled shortly after. It had accomplished a few things. Naruto was the only thing that caught the attention of the bandits, not Igeo. It appeared that Naruto was only proficient in creating clones and had no one to share his talents. Naruto's choice to run instead of fighting prevented them from getting into a long fight that would have quickly broken down before they were ready. The bandits' terms would be used to engage in the transaction, not their own. Before leaving, Naruto asked if there were any questions to ask. His team shook their heads in agreement. "Good news. Let's begin." Kurenai's initial gesture of concern was ignored by Naruto as she stepped back and left. Anko departed shortly after, with no opportunity for Naruto to give him a final jab. Before rolling up to the top, Naruto took a closer look at the map. His hands were shaking and he was permeating with nervous sweat. He felt Igeo's hand touch his shoulder and turned to face her. "You're worried, right?" she asked with a smile on her lips. "I understand the feeling, but prioritize the task at hand. If everything goes smoothly, we should be back in the Leaf Village by morning. If not," she pointed to the radio headset in her ear and the headphones they had on, saying that they could try again at a different time. Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled shortly after. I'm aware of this. I'm apprehensive about them, don't you?" "They can handle themselves," Igeo explained. "Stimulate them to perform their duties." Despite being nervous, he put in a lot of effort and has since relented, but some parts of him are still eager to see his plan come through. Igeo agreed that Kurenai and Anko, who were both ninjas for much of his life, could carry out such a mission without risking their lives. He got up. "I'm willing to go through with this and have no hesitation whatsoever." The scheme was uncomplicated. The smallest camp would be attacked alone by Kurenai, who would then draw reinforcements from the main camp. Naruto's initial plan was to attack the middle camp, which was situated nearer to the main camp and had a terrain that was easier to navigate. They altered their plans after discovering that the main camp would send more bandits to the smallest camp. The attack on the smallest camp would be followed by Anko's move to target the medium-sized camp, which would attract more bandits from the main camp. By reducing the number of soldiers in the main camp, they would exhaust 1/3 of their forces, making their job easier. Upon their arrival in the main camp, Naruto and Igeo secured their positions and patiently waited for the messenger to arrive, with Naruto creating a few clones who then disappeared into the forest to await their signal. Naruto was concerned that the messengers from the camps that were being targeted would set traps, but Anko convinced them that her summons snakes to guide them around the trap. The messenger arrived safely at the camp, just as Anko had promised. He remarked that the Agama camp was being attacked, after coming across 2 bandits who were keeping watch in front of the camp's entrance. Naruto was unsure as to why there weren't more, but it resulted in less work for him. After a brief glance, the guards raised their swords at their hips. The messenger was confronted by one of them who wielded the sword. "What's the password?" the messenger asked with a shiver in his eye and briefly lost his composure. "The fire is more profitable than the lightning, but the lightning speed makes it a little slower to strike." The guards concealed their swords and allowed the messenger to enter. Naruto and Igeo nodded together, aware that Kurenai had already fulfilled her duties since Agama was the nearest village to the Crimson Hand's smallest camp. A group of bandits quickly emerged from the camp, donning dirty clothing and carrying weapons of all kinds. The other camp's messenger followed the same path as the other, arriving, providing a new password, and departing with reinforcements. After being unable to see, hear, or sense the objects, Naruto proceeded to remove his hands and enter through hand seals. The guard on the left blinked quickly and then used his sword to threaten another bandit, shouting, "I'll kill you." While the other guard was too shocked to react, the attacker slashed and stabbed the victim, carving deep gouges into his skin before cleaving his head off. He also ignored the blood spray that had streaked across the corpse as he continued to hack at the deceased guard. The guard's band of friends quickly ran towards him after hearing the alarm sound, but that wasn't the best choice as the guard looked at them and displayed the same manic expression he had when attacking the former member of the Crimson Hand. He ran towards the closest criminal, who managed to fend off his initial attack, but was defeated by the guard's sheer might and soon lost his way to following in the footsteps of his predecessor. Prior to attacking another bandit, the incensed guard was stabbed by all the other bandits nearby and died on the ground. The guard's sudden pause left them bewildered, but their eyes filled with fear as they ran deeper into the camp, shouting about demons and foxes. Genjutsu that he had practiced were successful. By using it to manipulate his memories and provoke anger, he was able to make the guard want to see that his partner had kissed one of his best friends, which is now common knowledge. Following that, Naruto presented another genjutsu that was motivated by the anger and sexual desire he encountered when tapping into the Nine-Tails energy field. The guard was sent flying by its effectiveness. Despite not expecting it to be perfect, he wouldn't voice any displeasure about the results being better than hoped. He utilized a different type of martial arts weapon, the Genjutsu, on the bandits to create the impression of being prey foxes similar to the Nine-Tails. The creature was seen in an orange fog with dangerous red eyes, fangs, and claws that were as sharp and lifelike as the pain they experienced at sea. Some of the bandits who were running away were able to escape, but 4 Naruto's clones gave way right in front of them. The bandits were swept away from their feet by the flashing of seals and 4 gales of fierce wind, resulting in them being forced to lie down and swimming in pools of blood. They hurriedly left their hiding places after he signaled to Igeo, jumping into the conflict. With each katana toss, Igeo dispatched bandits far away from Naruto's clones and effortlessly danced like a leaf in the wind. She was there for him because of her talent and sensory abilities, which would enable her to come to his aid if he needed assistance. Naruto and his clones held firm against the approaching bandits. The bandits were fragmented by the clones, leaving only 25% of them to fight in battle. With a grudge, the biggest criminal smiled at Naruto and displayed his unusual white teeth before approaching him with an axe. He brought out a kunai and confronted the attacker, positioning his shoulder in an upward direction and performing judicious leg sweep to cause the big man to fall onto the ground. He then flicked at his wrist to subdue the masked figure deep within the offender's throat. He remained silent and watched as the man's vitality faded away before taking out a few shuriken and throwing them at the oncoming troop. The individuals who were not slowing down his pace rushed towards him, forcing him to focus on attacking and disregarding the potential loss of life. He evaded the wall by performing slashes, bent around, stabs, and grapples while also striking bone with kicks at specific points on the ribs or kneecaps. As more bandits took up positions to replace their fallen comrades, Naruto was forced to fight, with a wind that cut through the entire force in mud and blood. The only indication of a chakra sensing technique in wind-style ninjutsu is the presence of air distortion or dirt and grass being flung upwards, which was the only advantage. The succeeding bandits fought with greater intensity, taking advantage of Naruto's momentary disorientation in his attempt to avoid the memories of his clone and surround him. He crouched down and waited for the bandits to release their weapons before leaping upwards and steering clear of any bandit. He was almost hit by a spear before landing on the ground, but he managed to flee with tenmans and use judo in substitution jutsu. He gave the bandit back by throwing kunais and beating his heart instead of just touching the floor. As the bandits drew nearer to him and even as he drove them away, the remaining ones kept pulling him further from Igeo. One of the bandits used his two-handed weapon to strike him, but Naruto countered by stabbing him with both kunai. The bandit's remains were utilized by him as a barrier to prevent the weapons from reaching him. After kicking the body forward, he slapped his hands together and unleashed a fierce gust of wind with the Gale Palm Jutsu. The memories of the bandits he and his clones murdered were returned to him after they left, as no more came to light. Despite the necessity to protect his community and those who would be vulnerable to the Crimson Hand's attacks, he still felt sickened by the killing of numerous individuals. Blood rushed into the ground, causing the ground to turn dark red. The bandits' remains were sprayed with a pungent smell and their bodies were illuminated by the moonlight. He ingested with gusto and exhaled. He waited until the head of the Crimson Hand's leadership had finished his mission. During that moment, he experienced a chakra signature emerge in front of him. "You're the one who should be doing this," he declared. With his slicked back, brown hair, and oval beard that reached the chin, he was the same ninja that Naruto had seen during his nearly unsuccessful raid. His dark green wardrobe was reminiscent of the bandits' attire, but with less wear and tear and a more polished appearance. His smile was unlike any other, and he was almost self-assured. "It was my belief that the Hidden Leaf Ninja would come to our rescue, but the reality is that they may send one of their most promising genin as weapons and kill us." He chuckled, his eyes dark and melancholic. Naruto shifted his focus to taijutsu, anticipating the ninja's attack. Naruto Uzumaki, the Blade of Illusion. The ninja's chakra, which had previously felt like an abstract and earthy entity, flared up with a killing intent. I am capable of looking after you before your significant other discovers me. Despite my lack of knowledge about her, she is highly competent. I'm going too far in my career. The ninja took hold of the weapon and spun it twice before stretching it to reveal a B-staff. My name is Zokusei Yamasaki. You won't take any more lives among the Crimson Hand members after your time with me. What is the explanation for this statement? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained, stay safe.